Loneliness is at an epidemic level in our world today. And when you get to seasons like right now with the holidays literally on our doorsteps, it magnifies that and makes it even worse than it already was. Because so much of the holidays is built around people and connection, which is a good thing. But when you're struggling with loneliness and you're dealing with trauma and anxiety, depression, it makes that connection more difficult, which makes the loneliness echo more loudly. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. And I am so excited to announce our brand new series we're going to be starting in our next episode. We're going to talk about hygge and the 5 love languages. So most of you have probably heard about the 5 love languages. They've been around forever. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get into the series. And we're going to be marrying that or coupling it with hygge, which is a Scandinavian practice that helps bring warmth and light and connection into our lives. Is a really effective tool in combating seasonal affective disorder, anxiety, depression, can help you build connection in small, peaceful ways throughout the holidays. So perfect for folks like us. And I'm super excited about this series, and I'm looking forward to having you there and getting your feedback. So again, that starts next episode on Thursday. We're going to be starting a brand new series on hygge and the 5 love languages. So if you're listening today and you're feeling just a bit out of sync with all the holiday cheer around you, or you're dreading what's coming up because you know what's going to be expected of you and all the holiday cheer that you're, quote, supposed to feel, you are not alone. The loneliness and feeling that isolation during the holidays is not unusual. We have this idea in our mind, kind of this hallmark moment in our mind of what the holidays are supposed to be like. You know, it's supposed to be a time of laughter and lights, of togetherness, of couples, of romance, and, you know, these perfect family gatherings. But for many people, healing from trauma, maybe experiencing grief, this could be the first holiday without that person that you loved. Loss that you've experienced, whether it's recent or 5 years ago. This season can feel anything but merry. I remember hitting those seasons after I was, after I got PTSD. I don't know, do you get PTSD? Anyway, after I experienced that trauma and I wasn't myself anymore, and I was having a hard time dealing with that. And you don't feel like being merry. You don't want to be around people. And you might be feeling that ache, that quiet ache inside when you see family gatherings together and it's not the same of what it used to be, or you can't seem to engage. Or you just feel this dread or a fatigue inside you when people expect you to be in the Christmas spirit. So if any of this describes you or captures even a little bit of how you're feeling, you are definitely in the right place. So we're going to talk about a little bit of what's driving this and what's causing it. And then we're going to give you 5 simple things that you can do to try to help soothe the ache of loneliness and to help you re-engage on a gentle, easy level to help you connect with people this holiday season. So first of all, let's jump in a little bit and figure out what's really going on here. And if you're anything like me, that little bit of a geek inside of you that you like to understand why you're feeling this way, this can help kind of break it down and explain it a little bit. So first of all, loneliness, it is an emotion, but it's not only an emotion. It's also a biological signal, just like hunger or thirst. It's your body's way of saying, I need connection. And I have said this a dozen times or more. We are social creatures. We need people. And I say this sometimes because when going through the PTSD and the anxiety and depression, there were times I felt like I couldn't stand people. It was just too much stress and pressure and the noise, the anxiety, but there was such a deep loneliness there as well because we were created for people. We were created for community. But when you're going through that trauma or dealing with a loss or dealing with grief or whatever that may be that's pushing you away from people, it creates that deep sense of loneliness because we are created for connection. And so it becomes this huge tug of war inside of you. You want people, and yet you don't want people. You need that connection, but you're dreading that connection. You want to connect, you want to be around your friends and family, and yet it hurts to be around them, or to be in situations where they used to be, or to have that construct that you used to have, or an idea in your mind that's not being met. So you might be craving the closeness, but a part of you is also fearing it because of the pain associated with that. Instead of reaching out to solidify that connection that your body is literally crying out for, you're withdrawing. And then that isolation deepens the loneliness and the sense of emptiness inside of you. And during the holidays, when we have all these hallmark ideas, or when you have historically had maybe these beautiful family moments, or you're missing someone for the first time, it can magnify that pain and make it even harder. So every song you hear, every commercial, every gathering reminds you of what you don't have, and the people who are not there, or the people that you're missing, or the fact that, if you're like me, I never married. I was single. So you hear all this, the Christmas romance stories, and it seems to be a time of couples and families, and you don't have that. And it just drives that home even more and makes it harder to deal with. And so you miss the safety and that warm feeling of connection. And our brains compare a quiet reality of what we're living with everyone else's highlight reel. Let me say that again. Their highlight reel. What you see on social media is not all of their life, but that is what we compare our entire life to, is their highlight reel. And it makes the loneliness feel heavier than ever. It drives home the point to us to some degree that our lives are not as perfect as whoever it is we're looking at on social media. So what's going on beneath the surface? When you're experiencing that loneliness, your brain activates the same area that responds to physical pain. So in other words, loneliness literally hurts because your body is registering it as danger. That's why anxiety symptoms often spike, your heart races, your sleep gets restless, you feel foggy or tearful. If you've been through trauma, your amygdala, which is the part of the brain that detects danger or threats, it's already more sensitive. It's already on hyper alert because you've dealt with trauma. So when your brain begins to sense the disconnection and your body begins to literally feel the pain, it's not just an emotion, it's a biological signal. So your body is literally feeling the pain of that disconnection. It may send out an alarm that says something is wrong. So your amygdala is picking up on this because your amygdala is already super sensitive. So even if you're physically safe, it's triggering that danger signal in your mind. So the good news is that you can calm that signal down. There's some small, consistent actions that you can take to begin to remind your brain and body that you are safe, that you're seen, that you're loved. You can start creating some customs and traditions and take some definitive action to begin to create that safe space. That's one reason why starting our next broadcast, our next episode, we're going to be talking about Hygge, creating that safe, loved feeling, that space where you're feeling safe and connected. That's part of the reason why we're doing that. But you can take some consistent actions to help calm your body down, to lower that anxiety level, and to help ease the pain of loneliness and help you build connection. Even if it doesn't feel that way right now, I promise you can do this. So we're going to go through 5 gentle, practical steps to start soothing the ache of loneliness. So the first thing you want to do is to start with safety, not socializing. So if you're in the place where socializing is causing you a lot of anxiety, the first thing you don't want to do first is to jump into connection with people. You want to first build a sense of safety within, try to help your body to understand that it is safe and it's okay to connect. Because especially if you've been through any kind of trauma that's making connection difficult, your body is going to be on hyper alert and waiting for that. So you need to calm your body down first before you push yourself to, quote, get out there and connect with other people. So one thing you can do is try some grounding exercises. So you can do some deep breathing. You can do, we just got through a series of gratitude. And one of the things we talked about is grounding exercises through gratitude. You could do this here in this situation. So you go through the 5 senses of your body, what you see, smell, hear, taste, etc., and find something that you're grateful for, which will help you ground you, or at least something you can see that helps ground you in that moment. You can wrap yourself in a soft blanket. You can try a weighted blanket. I love my weighted blanket. It has been with me through a lot, but it really does help. You can light a candle. This is very hygge, which we're going to be talking about in our hygge series. So you can light a candle while you're praying or while you journal, while you go through some sayings, some affirmations to help you remind yourself that you're safe. So calm your nervous system before connecting. This is important because that will help that connection to feel safer and help you to be more willing to take that step. So one thing I would do when I was starting to reconnect with people, it was hard because it was causing so much anxiety, is I would tell myself, they don't care how you look, they don't care how you're dressed, they just want you to be there. And that was one thing I would remind myself over and over and again to calm my nervous system down enough to be able to handle it. And I also gave myself permission to leave if it was too much, knowing that the people that I was reconnecting with would understand that and let me do that. So the second thing you can do is create tiny points of connection. So you're not going to go from being someone who is not connecting at all and hiding away in a hole, kind of like I did, and dealing with the anxiety to being the life of the party. It's not going to happen, not realistically. So you don't have to go to a big party first thing off. So maybe you're just going to send a small text. So for me, one of the first things I did was my best friend. She knew when to push and when to leave me alone, and she would drag me out of the house and take me somewhere, and would help me to start breaking down on that. And I would talk to her via text. There's a couple other people I would periodically, and that helped create tiny points of connection before I just showed up at church or showed up at a gathering. There would be those small moments. So you could send a text. You could, just smile at someone in the store or at your neighbor. Go to a coffee shop for a little bit of a one-on-one instead of just showing up to this huge group of people. And these small steps will signal your brain that you belong in the world around you. Because sometimes when you're dealing with that anxiety, that PTSD, whatever it may be, you feel very disconnected and that you don't belong. And so these small steps where it's just you and one other person or 2 other people help you to feel like you belong and help break down some of that barrier. Step number 3 is to honor your grief. So I have not personally directly lost someone that I love a lot. I'm hoping to get someone on the show to be able to talk to you guys about that. But I know some people who very close to me who have. Make space to remember. Don't try to forget. And I do know this from dealing with trauma and dealing with anxiety, etc., is when you're feeling negative emotions, you don't want to suppress them. And you don't want to forget the people that you're missing. So maybe set a time aside or when something comes up, remember those good times. Think about the times where they would have laughed or where they would have thought something was funny, or remember those touching moments. You could journal about it if you're a journaler. Tell stories about them. Look through pictures and remember. You can light a candle. Again, another hygge thing. Cook their favorite dish. Speak their name out loud. Don't try to bury it, but try to acknowledge it. Not that you have to sit there with it all the time, but just remember that and don't be afraid of it. Grief doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that you loved someone and you love them deeply. So honor that grief, honor the person that you're grieving over the holiday season, and just take a few moments. Maybe it's by yourself. You could, if you have someone else who's grieving as well, maybe you can just sit down and talk to them or a good friend who will listen. But take a few minutes to honor that grief. Step number 4 is to redefine what joy looks like. And I'm going to add to that and say redefine what the holidays look like. Because one thing that has been difficult for me to adapt to at times, and it applies to this specific situation, is the before me and the current me. So the before the PTSD me and the PTSD and post PTSD me. Very different people. And so I would engage in things prior to having PTSD. There were things I would do, there were actions I would take, there were aspects of my personality that were very different than what they are now because they've been shaped by trauma. Trauma has defined me. Not that it is who I am, but it has shaped who I am and has influenced how I react to situations. And a lot for the better. I mean, there's things that's deepened me, it's made me more empathetic, and a lot of other things. But it's also changed how I interact with the world around me. And it's changed what I find to be joyful and peaceful about things like the holidays. So maybe like before, I might have wanted to go to like 2 or 3 Thanksgiving parties and have a lot of fun and play games and laugh and be the life of the party, where I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe I want to stay home and decorate for Christmas, and that brings me lots of joy. And then go for just the evening meal and maybe a couple games in the evening and go home. And maybe that's enough. So joy isn't about noise and crowds. It's not about a specific set of traditions that you must execute every time. You can make new traditions and find new ways that will make the holiday meaningful to you. So it's when you're combating loneliness, it's about connection and meaning. So finding ways that you can still connect with people and it's still meaningful, or finding ways even on your own where you're by yourself, but you can make that time on your own very joyful and peaceful and full of hope and meaning. And you can do that. You don't have to go to Black Friday shopping in the stores. I quit doing that a long time ago because it drives me absolutely insane. You can make new traditions. You can find new ways to celebrate the holidays that are meaningful to you and bring peace and joy to your heart. It could be a quiet morning walk, music that soothes your soul, turning on the Christmas tree lights and just sitting there and absorbing the quiet and the joy. And you can bring small parts of those traditions that you've known for years and bring them into those moments that kind of help bridge the gap. So I remember as kids growing up, my mom used to always pop this huge bowl of popcorn. And it was one of the few times as kids were allowed to have pop. And we'd have a can of root beer out over some ice, and we'd have popcorn, and that's how we would decorate. So to this day, when I'm decorating for Christmas, I love to have popcorn and root beer, and it may just be me with some soft Christmas music playing in the background. But it's that little piece from my history that I'm bringing in. I'm redefining how it looks a little bit, but it's enough to help bring that connection to my past and bring into a peaceful moment into today. So the fifth step, we're going to tie in some faith on this one a little bit. Step number 5 is to lean into faith and hope. So if you're a follower of Christ, remember this. In your darkest moments, when you feel the loneliness, the loneliest, when you feel the most alone, the most isolated, God is in that moment with you. You may not feel it, but just because it's dark doesn't mean that there isn't light. God is still in those moments with you. He doesn't wait for you to be cheerful to show up. God shows up in your worst moments. He is still there when you feel the most anxiety, when you're struggling with the deepest depression in the darkest moments. God is still there. He will meet you in the loneliness, in the quiet, in the isolation, in the depression. And He wants you to know that you are not forgotten, that He is walking through those times with you, that He is right by your side. He has never left you, and you are not alone. You may feel that way, but you're not. I remember the moment when God impressed on my heart so clearly, and I was struggling with loneliness, that Jesus Christ died alone on the cross, and God Himself had to turn His back on Him, God the Father, because Jesus became sin. But Jesus died alone on the cross so that I never had to be alone. He promised that He would never leave us or forsake us. He is always with us, even in the darkest moments when we feel so alone and abandoned by God. If you are a follower of His, He is there, right there with you. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. So it's 5 things that you can do to help you combat the ache of loneliness. Start with safety. Make sure you're feeling safe. Create tiny points of connection, just a little bit. Don't jump in the deep end. Honor your grief. If you're grieving someone, honor that. Redefine what joy looks like and redefine what the holidays look like for you, and then lean into your faith and know that God is right there with you. So please know there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling lonely. You're not missing some perfect magic holiday gene that is like this, the Christmas spirit has abandoned you. You're just human. You're healing, you're growing, and you're doing the very best that you can. Healing often happens in the quiet seasons, in those quiet moments when we find what joy looks like on the other side. When you learn to sit with yourself without judgment. And sometimes the most sacred moments of the season aren't the loud celebrations, but the still tender ones when you finally feel peace in your own company, when you're okay sitting with yourself. So wherever you are today, whether surrounded by noise or sitting in silence, I hope you feel a flicker of warmth in your heart and know that you are worthy of love, you're worthy of connection, you're worthy of healing. One step at a time, you're going to get there, I promise. Right where you are, exactly where you are not alone. We are here with you, and God is with you, and we will see you on the other side. A quick reminder to sign up for our newsletter. You can do that at practicalsolutionsforptsd.grwebsite.com. We'll also be sharing information on Hygge and the 5 love languages. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.